counterintuitive thinking. We're going to talk about that in just one moment. But first, I want to tell you about our friends at betnow.eu. You can see them in the background. They've got a ridiculous bonus going on right now, 50% sign-up bonus. Look, even if you're a small player, you deposit $100, you get a $50 bonus. Plus, $5,000 weekly NBA contest to drool over. Also, $500,000 bracket madness is coming up, and that is at betnow.eu. Now, this is an evergreen video, so if you're watching this in January or June or August, it's still applicable, and make sure that you check betnow.eu to see what they've got going on whenever you're watching this video. Now, look, many of the secrets that, and I'm asked all the time, Joe Duffy, what is your secret? You've been in this industry since 1988 full-time. We know you're the best. Give me your secret. A lot of it can kind of fit under the general umbrella of being willing to think outside the box. Counterintuitive thinking. For example, the golden rule, and we say this in a lot of videos, if you're a veteran gambler, you sure as heck better know this. If you're a beginner, you've got to understand the most basic. A point spread or a total, it's not a prediction on the outcome of a game. It is a number that's intended to get 50% on the action on each side. So it's essentially a prediction on where the public is going to bet. Now, the odds makers know that the majority of the public, there's an 80% chance, if you're watching this, you would much rather bet on the superior team. You'd also much rather bet on the hotter team. And that makes sense. But the sharps, while the squares are zigging, both the sports books and the sharp players were zagging. Now, let me just give you an example of what I'm talking about. And this is not a cherry-picked angle. In the NBA, you have two teams playing in cumulative opposite streaks of 9 or more. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm talking about the straight-up winning streak of one team, and then you take the straight-up losing streak of another team, and it would add up to at least 9. So, in other words, the hotter team has a 6-game winning streak. Their opponent has at least a 3-game losing streak. That is a net total of 9. Also, the hotter team is significantly better by at least 200 percentage points. And most importantly, the better and hotter team is playing at home where they're most likely to win. Now you, the public, 80% of you watching this are going to be like, I don't want any parts of that inferior road team. They're much colder. I want no parts of that. Well, of course. Well, guess what? The odds makers are going to have to inflate the line as a result. And do you want to know how teams do in those very specific circumstances that I just mentioned? 352, 291, and 8. That's as we file this report. That's the one thing that's not going to be evergreen. It's going to likely continue to win, and it's going to likely win at about the same percentage. Now, I should add, I eliminated any cases where the road team would be a road favorite there because it eliminates any of the anomalies and outliers where, say, for example, maybe the home team under that circumstance has a ton of injuries, or they flat out come out and say, we're going to rest our star players tonight. So I eliminated, and that's a very small number. Even if I didn't eliminate those anomalies, the winning percentage would drop by only, I think it's like 1%. Now, that's just a master system. When you add to that things like rest, the margin of the recent wins and the recent losses, it creates even more inflated lines and therefore more opportunity for us. Look, bookies make money off of conventional thinkers. That's the people they make money off of. We're the unconventional thinkers because we know that the lines are going to be inflated under certain circumstances. And that's two of the great advantages about computer software. Number one, they do eliminate those biases. Most of my computer programs, not all of them, but a disproportionate number of my computer programs say go with the colder team and say go with the inferior team. And especially, but not always, but especially when they're on the road. And of course, you combine, all three of that, an inferior team, a colder team, and a road team. In all sports, with the exception, college football is kind of the exception. That's more of a momentum sport. But all other sports, any combination of those three usually adds up to victory. We've got the computer to prove it. But most importantly, I'm not going to miss anything because the computer catches it. Anytime a great situation applies, like in college basketball, No one human being can keep track of every situation of every game. Sometimes you got like 40 games going on at once. The computer does that for us. OffshoreInsiders.com is where you get my winning information each and every day. I'm Joe Duffy. Winning picks each and every day at OffshoreInsiders.com. And we also recommend you go to betnow.eu.